Hey everybody, we're out here today getting ready to plant our Irish potatoes, and I want to try putting them in this bucket. I tried doing that last year, but the soil I used wasn't right, and they never even grew whatsoever. So the kind of potato we're actually wanting to grow this year are these new red potatoes. So I've had these seedlings getting ready over the last couple weeks and chitting. And you can see that in some cases I had a potato that only grew one sprout, but if I have more than one sprout coming out, I slice down and then have let this scab over the last couple days. So that's a nice hard surface, and you want to do that to make sure that the potato itself doesn't rot out. So if you're doing potatoes, don't just get seed potatoes, cut them right up and stick them right in the ground. You might be encouraging that potato to rot rather than actually grow a new plant. So keep that in mind. The soil that we're going to use this year is a mixture between our own homemade compost, some good well-rotted goat manure, and some coarse river sand. And it's got a lot more aeration in it. It's going to be a lot better for the potatoes to grow than what we used last year. So we're going to put some in here, and I'm also going to try the potato cages and give those a try. And then hopefully as we develop the rest of the property, there's some places that come to mind that would be good for potatoes to stay as a perennial crop, but for now we're sticking to the containers. So if you've ever wondered why people tell you to hill potatoes, you could just plant this in the ground and barely cover it up and get potatoes. But the thing about potatoes is that the taller the stem grows, these nodes are going to put out roots. So you get more tubers if you hill dirt over it and hill dirt over it and hill dirt over it, so that more tubers can form. So what we're going to do is, this container's got about 2 inches of soil down in it, and we're going to just pick a few of these ones that have some good long starters on them as best as we can here. They're not all growing at the same rate yet. And we don't want to overfill this too much. We want to make sure that the potatoes have room to grow, but at the same time we want to make as much use of the space as we possibly can. So, okay, that's all we're going to do for now for this one, and let's move on to making some cages for potatoes. This is the cage that we're going to use for trying to grow the potatoes in. This is actually reused 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch hardware cloth. You don't have to have 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. We're using what we have rather than spend money on something new. What we are going to do is put some old cardboard down at the bottom as a buffer against the non-native grasses, so that when we start putting soil in the bottom of this, we don't have grasses popping up through the soil and competing with our potatoes. So piece of cardboard down, cage on top. Now let's fill it up. Straw is used to help do two different things. Structurally, it keeps the soil from coming through the sides of the cage, but it also helps retain moisture by blocking the sun from being directly onto the soil. It becomes more obvious as you build soil up the cage. For now, we'll put a little bit on the bottom to act as another buffer against the cardboard, and a little around the edges. There's not going to be too much soil in the bottom of this to start with. Just maybe 2 inches to get the potatoes started, and then we'll start adding up the soil the rest of the way. So that's all there really is to it. We'll wait for these potatoes to grow about 1 foot tall, and we'll hill over about 2/3 of them, and wait for them to grow another foot tall, hill over about 2/3 of them, and just keep going until as far up this cage as we can. So stay tuned. It'll be really fun to try to do a reveal on this at the end of the season if all grows well. One other thing that I mentioned about the construction of the cage, what we did is overlap these. They don't butt up against each other, they overlap each other, and then we just tied, using mason string, those two things together. So when it comes time to harvest these, rather than trying to lift the cage up, we can just pull this twine off and then open the cage and let it all just fall to pieces, because we will harvest all of this at one time. Thank you all so much for watching. If you do this a different way or have some tips on how to do it better, please leave some comments down below for everybody, so we can make sure that we're sharing all the information we can about growing potatoes. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time.